Ancient people were very thoughtful. They did not build their cities just anywhere. Choosing a place to live was a serious task. This decision was vital for their survival. It was about creating a secure and thriving community. They carefully observed the land around them. Nature was their most important teacher in this. The right location meant a strong future for their people. It was the first step in building a great civilization. They understood this deep connection from the very start. These early civilizations watched the world closely. They learned from the movements of the sun. The moon and stars also told them stories. They understood the changing of the seasons. This knowledge of plants and animals was critical. It helped them identify the most suitable places to settle. They recognized patterns in natural events. These patterns guided their choices for a home. Wisdom came from observing and understanding their world. This careful study was a hallmark of their intellect. A good location needed to offer essential resources. Water was the most fundamental need for all life. People required fresh water to drink. They also needed it to grow their precious food crops. Safety was another major consideration for them. Some locations provided natural defense from enemies. Other places offered shelter from harsh weather conditions. The chosen land had to support many families together. It formed the very heart of their growing community. This was the bedrock upon which they built their societies. When they found such a promising spot, they would settle. These small settlements often grew into larger villages. Over time, villages could expand into towns. Eventually, some towns became magnificent cities. This was the beginning of many ancient civilizations. A strong and stable foundation was absolutely necessary. The correct geographical location provided this crucial strength. It allowed their unique cultures and knowledge to flourish. Their intelligent choices about where to live shaped their destiny. These decisions echoed through their entire history. Ancient Egypt provides a brilliant example of this. This great civilization grew along the mighty Nile River. The Nile River was like a lifeline for Egypt. Every single year, the powerful river flooded its banks. This annual flood was not seen as a destructive event. Instead, it was welcomed as a true blessing for the land. It deposited a rich, dark layer of fertile soil. This amazing soil was absolutely perfect for successful farming. Egypt's existence was tied to this remarkable river. The river made the desert bloom with life. The wonderfully fertile soil was known as silt. Egyptian farmers skillfully used this precious silt. They cultivated important crops like wheat and barley. This abundant food sustained the entire population of Egypt. The Nile also provided them with essential fresh water. They used this water for drinking and for irrigating their fields. The river was, in essence, a constant source of life itself. The civilization of Egypt thrived primarily because of the Nile. Without it, the Grand Pyramids might never have been built. It was the giver of all good things. Another significant ancient civilization was Mesopotamia. It was strategically located between two major rivers. These life-giving rivers were the Tigris and the Euphrates. This region is often called the Fertile Crescent. Much like the Nile in Egypt, these rivers brought forth life. They supplied the essential water needed for drinking. They also made the surrounding land incredibly fertile for agriculture. Great and influential cities such as Ur and Babylon grew here. These cities became centers of power and innovation. Their prosperity was directly linked to the rivers. These powerful rivers were much more than just sources of water. They functioned as natural highways for the people. People used boats to travel up and down the rivers. They transported various goods for trade with other communities. This facilitated connection between different groups of people. Ideas, inventions, and culture spread easily along these waterways. Therefore, rivers played a key role in helping civilizations grow strong. They were absolutely vital for food, fresh water, and social connection. They were the arteries through which civilization flowed. Their importance cannot be overstated for these early societies. Not all ancient civilizations chose to settle in river valleys. The remarkable Inca Empire is a very clear example of this. They courageously built their cities high up in the Andes Mountains. This presented a vastly different and challenging environment. The towering mountains were incredibly steep and quite rugged. Life in such a place required very special adaptations and skills. The Incas became true masters of living in mountain terrains. They constructed amazing systems of roads and impressive cities like Machu Picchu. Their ingenuity in this landscape was astounding. They carved a civilization out of the rock itself. The mountains actually offered several distinct advantages. They provided a form of natural protection from potential enemies. It was very difficult for invading forces to attack their high settlements. Mountains also contained many unique and valuable resources. There were important minerals to be mined and special medicinal plants. The resourceful Incas learned to farm effectively on terraces. These were like enormous steps carefully cut into the mountainsides. This clever method allowed them to grow sufficient food. Even on the steepest of slopes, they could cultivate crops. Their adaptation to the vertical world was complete. Ancient peoples all over the world frequently looked towards the sky. They carefully watched the sun, the moon, and the distant stars. These celestial bodies appeared to move in predictable patterns. Understanding these complex patterns was extremely important for them. It helped them determine the right times to plant their crops. It also assisted them in accurately tracking the changing seasons. Special celestial events like the solstices held great significance. The solstice marks the longest or the shortest day of the year. These moments were often celebrated with rituals and feasts. The sky was a reliable clock and calendar. Many ancient structures were deliberately aligned with the stars, or they were precisely oriented towards the rising or setting sun. Consider the famous monument of Stonehenge in England. Its massive stones line up perfectly with the sunrise on the summer solstice. The great Egyptian pyramids also show clear celestial alignments. This demonstrates their profound and deep connection to the universe. The vast sky served as their calendar and their sacred map. It guided their agricultural practices and their important religious rituals. They saw themselves as part of a larger cosmic order. This understanding shaped their architecture and their worldview. Forests in ancient times were like natural supermarkets and hardware stores. They provided strong timber for building sturdy homes and shelters. Wood was also skillfully crafted into various necessary tools, and critically, it was an essential source of fuel for fires. People needed fire for cooking their food and for providing warmth. Forests also offered a supply of food for the people. They hunted wild animals that lived among the trees. They also gathered edible plants, fruits, and nuts. So forests were incredibly valuable assets to ancient communities. Their careful management was often a priority. Rivers, as we have seen, generously gave water and rich, fertile soil. They were also teeming with many different kinds of fish. Fish was a very important and reliable source of protein. Mountains, on the other hand, offered different types of natural wealth. They had abundant stones, suitable for building strong and lasting structures. They also contained valuable metals like gold, silver, and copper. These useful materials were mined and used for tools, beautiful art, and trade. Each distinct landscape offered its own unique and precious gifts. Ancient people learned to identify and utilize these varied resources. This knowledge was passed down through generations. Even harsh and seemingly barren deserts were not entirely empty. Resourceful people learned how to survive and live in these dry lands. They discovered hidden oases where precious water could be found. They domesticated animals like camels for long-distance travel across sands. Desert communities developed their own unique and fascinating cultures. They possessed a deep understanding of how to survive extreme temperatures. This clearly shows how remarkably adaptable human beings are. They could find ingenious ways to make a home almost anywhere on Earth. Their resilience and creativity were key to their survival. They turned challenges into opportunities for innovation. Ancient civilizations often viewed nature in a different light. They generally did not seek to completely conquer or dominate it. Instead, they wisely endeavored to live in balance with it. Nature was perceived as their knowledgeable guide and their steadfast protector. They held a deep respect for its immense power and its inherent beauty. They clearly understood that their very lives depended directly on it. This ancient idea of living in harmony with the natural world is very old. It is a profound and timeless lesson we can still learn much from today. Their wisdom reminds us of our own connection to the planet. Perhaps we can find guidance in their ancient ways.